taste in my mouth, girl. You're the only one that I want. Wanna be around. Wanna be around, girl. Wanna be around, girl. Ooh, wanna be around. Baby, I would be grieving if you wanted to leave me all alone by myself. I don't want nobody else. The world leaves a bitter taste in my mouth, girl. You're the only one that I want. Wanna be around. Wanna be around, girl. Wanna be around, girl. Ooh, wanna be around. Baby, 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 I'm coming home to your tender, sweet loving. You're my one and only one. The world needs a bitter taste.
Well, it is all nice and decent, slip of the crew. This is Mr. Cat and Sugar Ray riding through. Spread your love and fly, fly. Spread your love and fly, fly. Spread your love and fly, fly. Spread your love and fly, fly.
All around the world, statues crumble for me. Who knows how long I've loved you?
What will you say?
Everywhere I go, people stop and they say, 25 years old, my mother, God rest her soul.
Lord of mercy.
I just wanna fly.
Where you want?
Put your arms around me, baby. Put your arms around me, baby. I just wanna fly.
Where you want? Where you try? Where you
Put
want?
your arms around me, baby. Put your arms around me, baby.
Tell her, here. Well, spread your love and fly. Yo, me, oh my, spread your love and fly. Yo, me, for I, spread your love and fly.
Dance a little stranger. Show me where you've been.
Say what?
Love can make you hostage. Wanna do it again?
Word.
There's no time to think about the starting or the end.
Never.
We'll find out, I'm told. My mother, she told me so.
Yeah, you hear that?
I just wanna fly.
Higher, 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 high, high,
Put
high.
your arms around me, baby. Put your arms around me, baby. I just wanna fly.
I come burning on the sky up so
Put
high.
your arms around me, baby. Put your arms around me, baby. I just
Grow your wing and fly. Where you want? Where you? Me love you, baby girl, and me not tell no lie. And them way you me love you, water come on me eye. Just like a eagle in the air and a fly. Me not go love the girl and go tell her bye bye. And grow your wing and fly. Spread your love and fly. Chiquitita on the
all around the world, statues crumble for me. Who knows how long I've loved you?
Imagine.
Everyone I know's been so good to me.
You hear that?
25 years old,
Hello, friends. Can you guys hear me okay? Hi, here you go. This is for you, sir.
All right, check 1, 2.
Check 1, 2, 1, 2. Hi,
If it weren't
guys.
for a mic check, I'd have no check at all.
This is going to be a fun night, I can already tell. So my name's Naz Perez. If you guys don't know me, hi, you're my friend now. I'm a cultural conversationalist. I'm also a 90s kid who grew up in the Y2K era. And if someone asked me to pick a music video that really defined that stretch of my childhood or a song, I would definitely say that it would be All Star by Smash Mouth. If someone asked me to pick...
So I put 3 of my family members in because we had no money.
I'm dead.
The kid with the L on his forehead is my
Really?
nephew. Yeah.
The L on your forehead. That's an iconic moment.
His name's Brecht. He's in here a lot. You guys probably know him.
Oh,
He's at the light.
sick.
I think he's all over the Lighthouse.
I can't wait to go like this every time I see him. L7 weenie. If I had to pick a film that really captured that moment in culture, I would say Charlie's Angels is like pretty high on that list. And if someone were to ask me about television at that time, I mean, the OC is the definitive Y2K show. And what's crazy is that that music video and that film franchise and that television phenomenon all came from one creative force, which is the man up here on stage with me. So let's give it up for McG. And McG, you didn't even just come out with these hit projects. I mean, you really helped define the cultural language of an era. I don't know too many, I interview a lot of people, I don't know too many people that so perfectly captured the energy and the gloss and the adrenaline and the optimism of the turn of the millennium. I mean, you literally are like Y2K king, and you defined an aesthetic that's instantly recognizable today. Everyone knows Y2K is back, which is so funny. But it's an era that I never left. And so I just
feel like it
needed
went into your costume selection.
I just needed you to know that it means so much to me to be here with you tonight, and the fact that you're here to give us all your wisdom to the people at Lighthouse. Thank you, Lighthouse, for having me. Thank you.
I love it here. I think what Neil and the Whaler Group and everybody's done here is second to none. We were talking earlier about how I'm buddies with Joel Silver, who did The Matrix and Lethal Weapon and a bunch of movies, and he owned this building for a long time, but could never quite get it together.
Wow.
And then Whaler Group came in and nailed it, and I've even been to the Brooklyn spot, which is bananas, and great job.
I feel like you know everything about LA. We're gonna have our tourist badge after this conversation. So I wanted to open up the container today with a song, that song that you guys just saw, Fly by Sugar Ray, a band that McG put together, which we'll get into later, but it was a song that you co-wrote, and it's a music video you directed. And it was the first big hit that you put out into the world. And so the first thing that the world loved from you was this song called I Just Wanna Fly. The words are I Just Wanna Fly. And yet you've been open about having agoraphobia since the age of 15, which is the fear of being trapped. And in one of the biggest moments in your career, you couldn't get on a plane and fly, which I found so fascinating. I just want to fly, you couldn't fly. Can you tell us about that story? Because I don't think when we host conversations in the industry, we talk enough about overcoming fear, which is such a big part of the creative process.
I mean, it was a very painful and difficult part of my life that is still with me and kind of, defined who I was and who I am. And I mean, I was pretty normal. I mean, comparatively speaking, till about 15. And then at 15, I just started having really debilitating anxiety attacks. Not cute ones, but things like I'm going to fucking die. What's happening to me? And they weren't really brought on by anything in particular, which made them even more scary because you really feel like you're going to die. And in fact, I don't know, there are probably some people in the audience that know what I'm talking about. And, when the thought of the worst that can happen is I could die is comforting, that's powerful stuff. And what happens is you kind of, if you have one on the freeway, you stop getting on freeways. And you have one in the elevator, you stop getting on elevators. You have one on the plane, you stop getting on the plane. And your world just gets really small. And, I'd traveled like any normal kid until, 0 to 15, but then I just stopped. And right around when I got my license, and everybody kind of knew that I was, dealing with this problem, but it was sensitive and they didn't really want to push me on it too much. And I was meant to go to USC. I was born in Kalamazoo, Michigan, but I grew up in Newport Beach, California, which is why the OC and what have you. But I couldn't make it. I couldn't go even 45 minutes up the road without having so much anxiety. I went to USC for exactly one night.
Wow.
And I couldn't do it. And I ended up going to UCI because it was in my safe zone, so to speak.
Yeah.
And, I'm pre-med, and I'm thinking I'm going to be a psychiatrist so I can cure myself. And I finally got to be a junior, and I've got long hair, and my whole life is rock and roll, and my whole life is film, and I love it. It just didn't seem like a viable thing you could do, because I don't have a rich uncle in Hollywood or anything. And I realized that was kind of my dad's dream, to go to medical school. And I was buddies with Gwen Stefani in Anaheim, and I was buddies with the one black dude in Irvine, Zach De La Rocha. And I'm buddies. We used to skateboard around the skate park, and I was buddies with these 3 junkies, sadly, in Long Beach, the Sublime guys. And my best friend was Mark, who I'm like, dude, you're not a very good singer, but you're super handsome. Let's make a video.
Yeah.
So,
and we'll get into the Sugar Ray of it in a little bit.
right. But, so I wanted to be Rick Rubin, and I put together, a song, and we put it on a green video cassette in the days of video cassettes, and I put it in a pizza box and had it delivered to all the record label heads in North America. And the head of Atlantic Records was Ahmet Ertegun, legendary guy. Put it in, 30 seconds in, he goes, sign those guys. And sent first-class tickets to California to come to New York to sign. And I would always kind of play along like, I'm okay, I'm going to make it, sort of magically thinking there was a way I was going to overcome it and be able to fly.
Yeah.
And I remember the night all the guys in the band stayed at my apartment in Newport, the tiny 0-bedroom apartment where all sleep on the floor and on the couch and what have you. And I crawled out of my own window at 3 o'clock in the morning and left the keys to my Volkswagen Rabbit. And I said, you guys go, I don't feel so good, I'm sick.
Yeah.
And they all kind of knew I had a problem and they were cool about it. But like to miss that moment where they were able to go and, you're 20 years old and you get a big multi-million-dollar record deal with Atlantic Records, and I missed it, but it didn't impede my career, so I kept going. And, I wrote the songs with them and I made the videos, and then the Korn guys moved down from Bakersfield and the Cypress Hill guys were around, and Puffy would call me up. Puffy thought I was black when he showed up on the set. He's like, where's McG? I'm like, here. He goes, you're not black. And I'm like, should I bail? He says, no, let's do it. But I left at midnight before the baby oil came out, so
I'll clip that off and post that on my social.
But anyway, so then I made the Gap videos, or the commercials rather, in the white psych with the kids, good-looking boys
khaki
and girls.
Pants,
khaki pants.
Iconic.
That worked out well, and I strangely met Drew Barrymore through rock and roll. She was dating the guitar player of Hole, a guy named Eric Erlandson. She's like, I got Charlie's Angels. But just to keep with flying, we made Charlie's Angels in L.A., which all of you know is, a lot of you know a lot about the arts and film and all that stuff.
Yeah.
You never shoot in L.A. And we shot him here, and I never had to get on a plane, which was a miracle. But Prince Charles, before he was king, goes, hey, I want to invite you to Buckingham Palace with the girls, Cameron, Drew, and Lucy, to see Charlie's with Harry and Will and do the whole thing. And again, that night, midnight, I called Drew. I go, I'm sick. I can't go. I got mono. She kind of knew. She didn't rub it in, but I missed another moment.
Right.
And it was sad, but I was able to keep going. And then the Warner's people gave me Superman. And the whole time they're like, hey, this is our biggest thing, and we want to shoot it in Australia. And we did The Matrix down there, and it was a big hit for us. And we already bought the Australian dollars. And come on, man, we're going to Australia. And at the time, the big boppers were Barry Meyer and Alan Horn. And I tried to do the right thing and go, I'm scared. I can't go to Australia. But I have this kind of bombastic person. They're like, come on, dude. Like, we'll buy you the first-class cabin on Qantas. We'll get you the G550. Come on. And they didn't really hear me. And cut to the plane is waiting at Venice. The stair deck is down. The captain is standing at attention. There's one name on the manifest, McG. And I can't get on the plane. And this time, everybody's watching. And I got fired. And it was on the cover of the New York Times, like, director of Superman Afraid to Fly. And it was terribly humiliating and wildly emasculating because it's just kind of a drag, everybody's, for lack of a more delicate way of putting it, they're like, why are you such a pussy?
Yeah.
And it's bigger than that. And I know you guys know that, but I limped into UCLA and saw 2 women that help people like me, one a psychiatrist and one a behavioral therapist. And I knew a dude who had a Gulfstream, and I rented his Gulfstream for a month so I could just sleep on it. And I just got used to the fuselage and then, kind of taxiing around. And then one day I gave him a look, and the pilot gave me a look back, and we flew from Van Nuys to Camarillo, which is like 5 nautical miles in a plane built to go around the world. But it gave me the confidence to keep going. And then one day I left LA heading east and returned from the west, and I went around the world. So I went back to Warner's and said, hey, I want to try again, and I want to do We Are Marshall, which was McConaughey's first kind of serious movie, and it was about a plane crash because I knew I'd have to shoot at a plane crash. That was a long answer, and I apologize for that.
No, I love it because we'll get into all that, but isn't that so fascinating? Had you ever connected I Just Want to Fly to the fact that you couldn't fly on this one huge moment in your career? Had you ever connected that in your head?
Yes, and I don't think it was sort of a conscious connection, but I think it's just one of those things that, like, as you write, you're just kind of doing it. And I mean, we would always kind of, take little bits and bobs of other songs that we liked and kind of pinch this little idea, because it was the time of sampling, and we were all DJing and doing our thing back when you used to DJ on vinyl.
Yeah.
And so we'd take little melodic hooks of one song and kind of tie it into another.
Yeah.
And just that whole, I always liked the song Fly Like an Eagle, the Steve Miller song.
Yeah.
And, it just sort of resonated with me because I couldn't fly and I missed so many good times that it was obviously very close to my heart.
Wow. What do you feel like losing the biggest job at the time, Superman? What do you feel like you learned from that you would have never learned from landing it or actually doing the gig?
Well, I was always very secretive about my problem because I thought it was so embarrassing, and I just really felt damaged and like a weirdo. And I think in the end, I finally reconciled a little bit that it's a chemical imbalance. It's not like I was fingered by the priest. You know what I mean? Thank you. Gross, but I'm Catholic, recovering Catholic.
Me too.
Anyway,
My name's
because
Nazareth.
people are like, what happened? I'm like, nothing. It's a chemical imbalance, but you take the crunchy with the smooth. Like, maybe I can hear music and see a movie a little differently, and that's the positive application of my chemical stasis, but it sucks because I've also got this problem that, it doesn't have here's why, because my dad used to beat me up, or I was deprived as a child. Like, that, there's nothing you can point your finger at. It was just like a chemical reality that would overwhelm me. And again, I defer to the crowd. I mean, of the people in here, I'm sure a couple of you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And, and there's a lot of people that have anxiety attacks that don't develop the agoraphobic side of it. But for me, it's stuck because there's this feeling after you have it of like, oh my God, that almost killed me. I can't go back and do that again. I need to at least be in a comfortable place to deal with that should it happen again.
It's so inspiring. What's so inspiring about
Is it inspiring or just depressing?
It's inspiring because years later you go on to direct We Are Marshall, starring Matthew McConaughey, which is about a real life plane crash. So you essentially take on this gig to like slay that dragon. What did making art about your fear do for you? And what did it do to the fear and do to the art?
Well, I mean, I remember thinking to myself, if I do, We Are Marshall's about a plane crash, and I forget if it was 70 or 71. I don't want to get it wrong.
I think 1970.
Okay, yeah. And a team was coming back to Huntington, West Virginia, and the plane crashed on approach in bad weather, and everybody died on the plane. And I knew that if I did the film, I wanted to shoot in Huntington, West Virginia, which is a very, poverty-stricken, kind of fentanyl, overrun, opioid crisis kind of, town.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd have to look at the burn spot on the mountain that's still there from the plane crash.
Wow.
So I remember, God, I'm going to cry. I remember the first time I went, I want to go to the crash site. And we got off the plane, and we drove, which wasn't far. It's like going from here to the beach. And I sat, and I reflected, and I prayed. And a woman tapped me on the shoulder. And I turned around, and it was a woman who'd lost her son in the fire and gave me her son's Letterman jacket.
Wow.
And said, tell the story honestly and don't hide the pain. Because ironically, it's the pain that you must go through to achieve your goal. And ironically, when you're in it, it feels so bad, but you don't know that at that moment when you're in the midst of the pain, you're closer to achieving your goal than you've ever been. And it's so hard to understand that in the moment, but she gave me a lot of courage to finally understand that.
That's such a beautiful answer, and I think it's so important for all of us to hear in everything we're creating. This wouldn't be a Naz Perez interview if I didn't ask you about the Superman movie you never made. J.J. Abrams' script, was it true that Robert Downey Jr. was going to be Lex Luthor and that Henry Cavill had done a screen test 10 years prior to him actually becoming Superman?
All
I need
true.
to know what this movie was going to look
That's all
like.
true, and it's ironic because now I'm doing a movie with Henry and Kevin Hart.
No way. Oh, he's in the spy action film?
Yeah, so me
well,
and
I'll ask you
Kevin
about
and
that.
Henry are doing it, and I apologized to Henry the other day, and he was very
Whoa.
gracious because, he's this, not kid, but he's a young guy that never got a big role, and I stuck my neck on the line and, got him Superman.
Wow.
And then
didn't
I
know
fucked
that.
it up and couldn't make the movie, and then the movie went away and he went out the window. So if you're him, you're like, I'm not very happy with you, McG. And he was very gracious and very good about it. And the JJ thing is interesting because at the time when I blew it, JJ goes, hey, I want to direct it. And Warner's goes, no, you're no director.
No way. They
Yeah.
said no to JJ.
No, they
Abrams?
100% said no to JJ.
That's
And boy, did he show
insane.
them. So yeah, just you just got to keep on chopping. And if you take no for an answer, this is the wrong town for you.
Facts. I love that you use so much of your fear and pain, like you said, and what that woman said, and put it into your art. But a big thing that you've also pulled from for inspiration is where you come from and where you were raised. You were born in Kalamazoo. You grew up in Orange County. Your dad was a scientist. You guys moved out to Newport Beach. And at the time when you lived in Orange County, nothing cool had ever really come from there. And I love that I heard something you said, which I thought was so cool. You said, those are the exact conditions you need to catch lightning in a bottle. And we've seen this happen throughout history. It's how broke post-war England threw up the punk era. It's how grunge kind of crawled out of like gray, sleepless Seattle. And I feel like you really put Orange County on the map when you came out with the OC. And in a way, it was like your autobiography. Can you tell everyone how you were like the character Seth Cohen?
Well, it's just interesting because growing up there, everybody's kind of like this strapping water polo surfing Adonis, and I was like this tiny
Adonis.
kid. And where's Bill? Bill knows we went to high school at Corona Lamar High School, and like everybody there's strapping and like the guys that would be lifeguards and on the water polo team and then be on the Olympic team and go to Cal or SC or UCLA and do the whole thing. And Mark and I would try to go surfing to hang with my brother, who was a very good surfer, and all the others. And we would always just hair and just not go out because it was too big for us. And we'd go to the local record store, Peer Records, and just immersed ourselves in rock and roll. You know what I mean? But that was what bonded me with Josh Schwartz, who's like, I'm a Jewish guy from Providence, Rhode Island. I go to college at SC with all those dudes. And I go, I graduated high school 5'2" with an orange afro, neck gear, dolphin shoe skates, Bill, orange pubes, virgin. I mean, I was a fucking disaster. And, he goes, let's make that the point of entry of the kid that does the thing. And that was
Wow.
kind of Seth Cohen.
Wow.
But I did notice that there was this sound kind of coming out of the Sublime guys, and the Offspring was there, and No Doubt was there, and Rage was there. And there was this thing kind of percolating. But then also there was the Velcro Valley, which was Quicksilver and Ruka and Hurley and Volcom. Like Volcom
So
was started
sick.
in my parents' garage.
That's insane.
Yeah, and
So it was like a friend of your sister's best
my
friend? or
brother's,
something? Brother's
yeah.
best friend.
Yeah, my
So
brother who
fire.
died of a cocaine overdose, sadly. But his best friend was Richard Woolcott, who started Volcom
Wow.
in a garage. Just is something antithetical to what was going on.
Wow.
And it just, you nailed it. I mean, if you look at the Sex Pistols, it's like, this sucks. Everybody's on the dole. There's a trash strike. It's 1976 in England and anywhere but here. And obviously the same is true with Seattle. If you talk to, sadly, the way Cobain ended up and the way Chris Cornell ended up, but just, anywhere but here.
Right.
And then if you talk to us, there's like planned communities with tract housing and divorce culture and just
Divorce culture.
like nothing cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
anywhere but here. And that's how maybe when you're not looking, something happens.
Oh my God. So I love that you brought this up because, well, first of all, I told you I'm from Palm Beach County, Florida, and that is the East Coast version of Orange County. And I loved watching the OC. It was the biggest Y2K show because you guys sexualized the parents. Like everyone's parent was hot, everyone had plastic surgery. And I really felt like you knew Orange County the way Scorsese knows New York. Like you guys really nailed it and put it on the map.
That was authentic because if you look back at 90210 or what have you, the
Yeah.
parents were almost in the sort of separate single beds.
Right.
And I'm like, these parents down here, they're fucking. And like you don't wrap it up because you're 38 or 42. It's like everybody they're fucking like rabbits. And so we did sexualize the parents
Yeah.
and Julie Cooper and everybody on the show. And also there was a thing where like it was sort of plastic surgery and everybody
Yeah.
becoming obsessed with like, I don't want to let the old guy in and I don't want to acquiesce to becoming a certain age where it dries up.
Right.
And you just kind of, that was gross. And you just, but that was the idea, just to
Yeah.
make it vital. To your point, they hadn't really done that.
But the reason why I brought all this up is because I wanted to ask you, when it comes to building a franchise or telling a story at that level, do you find that where most people are trying to escape from, which is where we all come from, is actually the most rich material that we have to use? In other words, should we write what we know? Because that's why the OC was so fucking good, because you were Orange County.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that's where I've had my most authentic representation of what I've tried to do. And when I've departed too far from that, sometimes it didn't work out so hot. Because as a kid, again, I'm living this small life, and I had weird influences. My brother was listening to Led Zeppelin. My sister's listening to disco. My dad's listening to jazz. I'm watching movies like crazy. It's the time of Blockbuster, so I could rent, 8 Alfred Hitchcock movies and watch Rope and the 39 Steps and, North by North, just everything.
What a time to be alive.
Yeah, so that's.
I would give my firstborn child to go back to Blockbuster.
Wasn't that dope?
I thought so.
But I'll tell you, we all went and hung out. We didn't sit in rooms and stare at screens and pretend like we were hanging out.
Exactly.
I mean, nothing amazing is going to happen to you online. So I think that's the one cool thing that we had the benefit of. So yeah, as far as just writing what I was dreaming of, Busby Berkeley musicals, but then I was watching gangster movies, but then I was listening to hip hop because I knew the guys in NWA at the time because it wasn't that far from us, and Snoop was in Long Beach, and Cameron went to the same high school as Snoop, and you can't believe how close it was.
It's insane.
And so we just sort of built this booyah base of our thing. That was very, very authentic to what we were doing. And it was also the synthesis of highbrow and lowbrow. The OC was a teen soap, but we would talk about Thomas Pynchon and magical realism. And, people would be like, wait, what the fuck was that?
Interesting.
And, we always wanted to put little cookies. And the same thing in the Charlie's Angels movies or just anything where you go, wait, what's that song?
Yeah.
And I remember in the second Charlie's, I gave Demi 2 gold-plated Desert Eagles.
Oh, my God. So
okay? So who gives a shit? And then out of nowhere, Pharrell comes up to me and goes, dude, did you give her the gold-plated Desert? And then me and Pharrell made a TV show. So you just don't know where these little cookies are going to show up.
But the mix of high and low was so that era we grew up in. It's I was eating a McDonald's Big Mac to Thelonious Monk. That is mixing high and low is the best.
That's some high and low brow right there. That's some Pink Slime and some.
There you go.
Yeah.
But you also EP'd huge franchises like Supernatural and Chuck. When it comes to, for anyone in the room that wants to build an episodic series like that, what stories do you feel like Hollywood's greenlighting now in terms of trying to create something like that?
This is an incredible day to be having this conversation because everything we knew that was coming just happened. I mean, with Backrooms and with Obsession.
Oh my God.
And then, this kid just got this 100% tip to tail AI movie into Tribeca. That's about Iran and what's going on there, and it doesn't look good. It looks perfect.
Yeah.
And so you're like, what is it, June 1st? So, we're sitting here on June 1st, and it's I don't know, the Star Wars movies falling off, the Marvel movies are falling off.
Wild?
And it's here comes Curry and, that 20-year-old kid.
Kane Parsons.
Yeah, Kane. I think
interviewed
20.
Kane last week. So Kane Parsons directed A24's Backrooms. If you guys don't know, it came out on Friday. A24's biggest opening ever, and it beat The Mandalorian and Grogu by landslide.
Yeah, it's just showing that you have to take chances and you have to respect the audience.
Yeah.
And the audience has spoken. They don't want formulaic. They want to do it. I think A24 is the best company out there doing it right now.
Yeah.
And but also Atomic Monster, which is James Wan and Jason Blum. Yeah. They're doing it at a high level.
Juan produced Backrooms.
Yeah. And I mean, Sean Levy was in there. There's a lot of smart guys, and even this old time dude, Peter Chernin, who used to run Fox and greenlit the OC.
Oh, wow.
So he gave them some chips early on. So there's ways you can do it, but you have to stay nimble and be, aware of the voices of the future that are just fantastic.
Yeah, and Kane started on YouTube. I wanted to ask you about vertical micro dramas because are you making one called Newport Beach?
I don't know yet. I mean, it's just I kind of defer to the room. It's just Google called us and they're like, hey, man, we want to do, these microdramas, and they're obviously so big in China, and everybody's swearing it's this giant thing that's coming.
And microdramas are for your phone, just for anyone.
Yeah, they're sort of shot on a vertical access, and it's very Quibi, but without the prepay of Quibi. So I don't know. I've never seen one that was good. So, right? I mean, I defer to you guys. It's like, but are you going to let that scare you away? Isn't somebody going to come through with the hot one and make the first good one? And you don't want to get smoked by it by being like, oh, we're too fabulous. We don't do that. I mean, in my day, if you had good luck in feature films, you would never do television. But my agent is crazy Ari Emanuel. And he came and grabbed me by the shirt. And he goes, you're doing TV. And I go, I'm not fucking doing TV. I just, And he goes, yeah, you are. And I go, all right, then I'll do what I know.
Yeah.
And that was the OC.
Wow. And TV is so prestigious now.
And Ari, to his credit,
Yeah.
drove over to my house after I got fired off Superman and hugged me.
Oh, we love Ari. That's so
It was wild.
That's
I mean, because I was very scared and very alone.
Wow.
And, here comes like the baddest dude in town.
That's such a cool
And
story.
yeah, he goes, we've gotten through other things. We'll get through this. We'll get through this.
That's so sick. Well, when it comes to vertical microdramas, Issa Rae was actually sitting in that chair. I was sitting there a month ago when she announced her first one that she dropped last month, 75 million views in the first week. It's projected to be a $14 billion market. I was curious if you thought that was the future of storytelling. Is everyone making stuff for the phones?
There you say a story like that. And she's obviously, I mean, her voice is insane. I'm such a fan, because she's got Baldwin Hills kind of on lock and she just has her thing.
Yeah.
And she talks about what she knows. I mean, we're trying to get her to be Kevin's wife in the movie. We'll
she
see.
would be so good. Yeah, talk about someone writing what they know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she definitely, nails it. And wow, I didn't know that hers had that kind of response. So that's what I mean. You don't want to be a snob, but like, I don't know. I suppose we could all be foot fetishist models and OnlyFans, but we're not. It doesn't mean that it's not a market. Do you say yes to everything? And that's something that you have to, I guess, consider as you go.
I'm going to say no comment to that foot thing. We'll move on from there.
I won't make a comment on those feet.
Well, I'll have questions at the end. The reason why I asked you if you would do microdramas is because I feel like what's so cool about them is you can have an idea, you can shoot it, and you can put it up right away. And that type of immediacy is what you were so fucking good at when it comes to making music videos, especially back in the day. And it's how I became a major fan of you, McG. So before I ask you any more about it, I would like for all of us to watch a compilation of my favorite music videos that you directed.
Do you really want to suffer through that? That was Brie Larson.
Wait, really?
Every morning there's a heartache hanging from the corner of my girlfriend's four-post
And then oh, Jesus.
I can't get enough of you, baby.
I based my outfit off the music video girl from one of the
This is for a Jennifer Love Hewitt movie. And my editor used to love doing split screens like that so much.
Hey now, you're an all-star, get your game on.
So we did a lot with these guys.
Hey now, you're a rock star, get the show on, get paid.
Good visual effects there.
Only shooting stars break the mold.
The dog bit Tiny Lister, and he went to his car to get a gun to shoot the dog, and I had to stop him like this. The dog was the embodiment of Bradley.
Give it to me, baby. Give it to me, baby.
That guy.
She's the reason I eat blow pop.
And all the girls say I'm pretty fly.
White guy.
So sick, McG.
Ridiculous.
First of all, what we were talking about in the green
I
room.
must share one thing, though.
Oh, share all the things.
I'll tell you a show that I think would be super hot.
Okay. Someone write it down.
Yeah, write it down. Somebody help me do it. One thing that, you talk about eras, right?
Yeah.
And at that era, all of us that would make music videos
Yeah.
in the 90s, okay, there was like this little group.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's insane who it was because we'd all get like the Aerosmith
Spike
song.
Jones,
Spike
you,
Jones,
Hudson,
David Fincher, Michael Bay, Michelle Gondry, Francis Lawrence.
Insane.
The best was Floria Sigismundi, she did all the Marilyn Manson videos that were fucking incredible. She
So
was the
sick.
best. But I'm just saying, if you give Santeria to Spike Jones and you give it to David Fincher, how different is that final result?
So different.
And, we were all, and then everybody would give us shit about like, oh, you guys are all flash and you can't tell a story, you can't handle dialogue. And we'd all go in and try to get a movie. And none of us could get a movie. And I think there was some stat where I think Michael Bay shot more film prior to making a movie than Alfred Hitchcock shot in the totality of his career.
Holy.
I'm not certain of that, but I did hear that, and it makes sense because he
Probably
would
blew
shoot
up
so much
more cars,
high-speed stuff,
too.
5 cameras at a time, and Hitchcock would shoot like 1 camera and
Right.
barely do any, so not much
Right.
film was being put through the camera. So we would all commiserate, and we were all, I guess, frenemies is the term,
Yeah.
because we'd all compete with like, oh, you got the thing, and oh, you got
Yeah.
the thing. But I was lucky because I hate my name. I don't hate it, but I don't love my name.
Really?
My name's Joseph McGinty Nickel, and we were broke, and my uncle was Joe, and my grandpa was Joe, and there were too many Joes in the house.
Yeah.
And my grandmother goes, call him McG on the day I was born. And I've only ever been called McG. Like my 2nd grade picture is like McG. And that was it. And I wouldn't even know who you were saying. If you said like, hey, Joe, get over here. Let's have a sandwich. I wouldn't even know. And people thought it was like this hip hop thing that I gave myself.
Yeah.
And it's
And
Kalamazoo,
you're like,
Michigan.
no, my grandma called me that in Kalamazoo.
But here's the silver lining was
Yeah.
right when I came around, they put your name on MTV. Directed, so like All Star would play, directed by McG. Fly would play, directed by McG. Santeria would play, directed
after
by McG.
music videos, yeah.
Yeah, and people are like, who's this motherfucker McG? And, it became kind of catchy. So
Yeah.
instead of like always, I mean, to this day, I still have to explain my name and kind of
Yeah.
apologize, and it's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
But at that moment, it actually helped me cut through because we were all trying to cut through.
So
And I just
wild.
think that class of, Michelle Gondry and, like I say, Francis Lauren and just all these, and we'd all get it was wonderful too, as far as all of you trying to hone your creative skills. Like you'd get the cassette, you saw it in the thing
Yeah.
on a Monday, and you'd have to shoot, you'd have to, come up with an idea in 24 hours and write and try to get big budgets,
Wow.
500, 800, $1 million bucks,
Yeah.
to do the video, but you'd have to write it in 24 hours, then they'd award it, and then you'd shoot it that weekend,
Wow.
and then edit it in 4 days, and then it'd be on MTV on Total Request Live
Insane.
and whatever. And it was just an incredible way to be like, I've shot on the mountaintop, I shot underwater, I shot in the snow, we shot in the sun, we shot in the desert, we did the thing, visual effects, puppets. It just made you do a lot of work and
Yeah.
helped you define your style. And we'd lose our movie opportunities to somebody who, did a 6-minute short at SC. God bless.
God
But
bless.
I mean, like, we've shot, $30 million worth of shit.
Wow.
With all the pressure of you can't mess it up and you've got to deliver, and if they would shelf it if they didn't like it, and you'd be banned and you'd never work again,
Wow.
and all that stuff. But like, we were really chastised for it, and it was just a very special moment of different eclectic minds. And I always felt like Salieri to Spike's Mozart,
Yeah.
because when the Weezer, Buddy Holly, the Happy Days thing cut in, I'm like, fuck, I'm good at this shit, but you are better, dude. You are just better than me.
I love that you and Spike, I love that you brought up Spike Jones, because a lot of times as creators, we look at other people's pages and other artists, and we can so often fall into like, I'm not as good as that person. But in a way, McG, it really fueled all your stuff. And you talk about your signature and your style, which I want to get into. I mean, the reason I play those music videos is McG's style is so unmistakable. I mean, you have this super saturated pop art color. You got like the fisheye, the kinetic motion. It felt to me like sun-drunk SoCal hedonism in the best way. And it almost felt like you knew your signature before you even walked on set, because he didn't go to film school. Where did that Y2K grammar language come from in your head?
Well, it came from, I thought what Hype Williams was doing was super cool. So he'd be doing the Missy Elliott stuff that was hypercolor and sort of fisheye and doing the thing.
Yeah.
And then I thought what Spike was doing was very subversive and very interesting in that regard. So I tried to have a foot in Hype and a foot in Spike.
Interesting.
And again, it's born of, I just lived this boring humdrum life of no car, no money, I can't buy the records I want, My best friend Mark, it was the age of, right when ATM machines were getting started, and his parents were getting divorced, and therefore he got the ATM card so he could take out a $20 bill at any moment. And that would be enough for us. We had to take 2 buses to go to Music Market, Bill. And, he could get a record and we could go to Carl's Jr. And I would only have $6 or $7, so I couldn't eat at Carl's Jr. because I knew the record would last forever.
Yeah.
And I'd eat when I got home, even though I was
Wow.
starving,
Aw.
And yeah, so I mean, it just, that was very authentic of just dreaming of a life bigger than my own.
And
So I would
pulling
just-
influences from the people
100%.
around you.
And I always just thought the 3-strip color process of Technicolor was so beautiful.
Mm.
And I'd think to myself, why can't they make movies as beautiful as Singing in the Rain anymore? What happened?
Yeah. Where'd the
And
color go?
Where'd the color go?
I think that every time I go to the theater.
Yeah, so I wanted that level of just impact and just wow.
Yeah.
Because I was the kid that would spend the night and, not just go see Star Wars, but like I saw Tootsie 7 times in
Oh
one
my
week.
God. It's on Netflix right now. You watch it before it leaves.
Yeah, so I mean,
One
I
of my
just
favorite movies.
that's what I did. And back to Mark. Mark hated the movies because the movies kind of felt like resignation to the nothing's gonna happen. But he was good looking, and the girls would use me to get to him. So there was more hope for him if we kind of went out in the streets
Oh
and
my God,
walked
I'm
around
dead.
Balboa Island. But we used to break dance on Balboa Island for quarters to play the Earthshaker pinball machine.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about that, but I want to finish talking about your style because I've read that you also have synesthesia too. Is that true that you have the ability to see images when you hear music? Because when
Yeah.
I hear All Star by Smash Mouth, I think Shrek.
Well, I just because I would like I said, I would sneak into my sister's room. We had a tradition in my family where you could get a stereo when you graduated 8th grade. So my sister had a stereo and my brother got a stereo, and I would sneak into whoever wasn't home, and I would use their stereo prior to my graduating. And like if I listened to like the Boston record or the Led Zeppelin record or whatever it was, I would act out the songs. It just there was a movie playing in my head every time I'm listening to More Than a Feeling. Like I didn't try, I just acted it out. So like I'm moving through the room and I'm in my bun huggers and like I mean I look like a lunatic, but I just again there was no effort. I just heard the song and I felt like, oh, this is an army coming over the sand dunes of Morocco.
Wow.
And it just
It just popped up in
it
your
just
head.
would sort of appear in my head,
Wow.
for better or for worse. And so then I'd sort of pantomime and act out these sort of scenarios prior to music videos even being a thing. So I
Wow.
would be listening to music and just thinking about the visual accompaniment to the song
Wow.
always. And I can't really turn it off. It just sort of happens.
And what about fisheye? Is that just a tool you use, or is that how you really see the world in terms of?
I just thought it was
Technically.
exciting because, it was also the advent of video cameras. So I started chasing everybody around with a video camera. And the first thing we did that we got right was what we would call press kits. So I did the press kit with the guys from Korn who were just like, really, really poverty-stricken kids from Bakersfield that came down. And I just thought everything was more interesting. But it was the age of like, Spike was doing everything with girl skateboards and Jackass was kind of out there doing their Jackass thing.
Yeah.
And Johnny Knoxville like, hey, shoot me with a 22 caliber gun with phone books in front of me. I think it'll stop the bullet. And everything just looked more bitchin' with the attachment of the fisheye on the
fisheye
video
lens,
camera.
yeah.
And then we would have to go to Panavision and what have you and beg on the docks of Panavision to borrow cameras for the weekend. And then you'd have to go beg at Kodak to get short ends, which was just the film that they didn't use. And then you'd have to beg at Photocam for them to process it and transfer to videotape so you could cut it on these terrible old Sony 3/4 inch machines that were just so inaccurate and so hard to deal with.
Wow.
But it was so do-it-yourself culture. And I just thought it added a level of excitement. And, like if you look at Missy's video that Hype did, everything she did was so fish-eyed out and so
Yeah.
interesting with everybody had a dress like
Distorted,
yours.
yeah.
And it just was a world that was more exciting than your own. So
love
that was that.
And your music video career started with Sugar Ray and your friendship with Mark.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we
So you guys formed the band. Mark McGrath is the lead singer of Sugar Ray. You guys formed that band together.
yeah, but I couldn't really be the Mark was kind of my side bitch. But I couldn't because when we were in high school, we had a band called the Q-Tips, which is
The
also
Q-Tips.
well, I wanted the girls to shorten it to the QTs, but it didn't happen. And I'm up there doing my thing, and Mark is on the side, and everybody's sort of cheering for Mark.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the agoraphobic thing, like if we got a gig more than 10 or 15 miles away, I couldn't do it. So Mark had to be the singer. But it wasn't pure torture because I liked the Rick Rubin thing. If I didn't want to just be in one band,
Yeah.
I wanted to work with a lot of bands.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the one guy that was our biggest influence, like there was this true musical genius named Nick Sopkovich, who we went to school with, who in 8th grade was writing songs and doing amazing things, and predictably he went insane, and like deeply insane, and institutionalized as happens so often. But he was such an amazing influence, and yeah, I mean just between that and then the Mark thing and the agoraphobic thing and the obsession with Rick Rubin thing, it just kind of resulted. And I don't know how many this guy Osiri, who kind of, Madonna empowered him at a very young age. He found Alanis Morissette and made the Jagged Little Pill record. He has the Deftones. He's partnered with Ashton Kutcher. They invest in cool shit. He managed U2. Like, he was also like this, like, a guy I looked up to that, just played in many areas.
And Mark wanted to be like Deftones, and he almost quit Sugar Ray when you guys wrote I Just Want to Fly because he hated the lyrics of it. But he said that you convinced him to stay, which is like such a testament to your instinct. Did you know it was going to be a hit?
I felt like there was something there, but we were too insecure to. I mean, you got to understand those guys were, almost like a thrash punk band.
Yeah.
And just it never really popped. Like I produced the first record, and the first record had no hits, and we damn near got dropped by Atlantic after the first record because they're like, I don't know, you didn't do the thing, and then the Loop, because Craig DJ Homicide, who came into the band that I met through the Cypress Hill guys and the House of Pain guys, came into the band. And he had this loop, and he played the loop, and it's the damnedest thing because we're in the studio, right, and we're always listening to this loud-ass guitar-driven rock and roll, and this loop is playing. And there were two girls in the studio, and one was Leslie Mann, this actor led Bill, Leslie from Chrono
Judd
High School.
Apatow's wife.
Judd Apatow's wife. And she's a great actor in her own regard, and
Yes.
their kid is, Maud is an incredible director now. She's a
George
beast.
of the Jungle.
Yeah, all of it. Good call.
It's one of my faves.
There you go. And all of a sudden, I see these two girls are dancing in the studio. And I'm like, I've never seen two girls dance to your bullshit before. You know what I mean? And we knew we wanted to do that. And Mark was partying like he almost died. He was doing way too many drugs and just sort of was really into like I say, Deftones, Orgy, this band Snot, this, Limp Bizkit was floating around. We wanted to be hard like Korn because Korn was real hard. And they were using 808.
Corn.
Yeah, but they were using 808 kicks and doing all, so like we were confused. But it was very Beastie Boys.
Yeah.
Like, it's just sort of like an amalgam of everything you were listening to. But I knew that song had a chance because I saw two girls dancing for the first time.
Wow.
And I'm like, that's new.
That's new.
And then finally Mark, because he was insecure about his voice, and he finally just, got to sing. And they fired me off the second record.
Whoa.
Which sucked because we all lived in a house. We lived in that house that you saw at the end of the Fly video on McCadden in Hancock Park. Like, we used to joke that it was a disaster because it looked like Sanford and Son. It was just crazy. Like, our shitty cars parked in front, and like, the doctor to the left was operating on Ronald Reagan's colon, and the
Hancock
lawyer
Park's
to the
like
left.
mad affluent.
Yeah, and then us at 4 a.m, like blasting punk rock.
That's funny.
So, where was I going with that story?
Where you were saying they fired you off the second album.
And we're all living in there, and I paid the most rent because I was making music videos, so I got the hot bedroom. I got the the big bedroom. And then I see the guys come walking in my room in a line.
Wow.
And I go, this right. I go, something, what the fuck? And they go, McG, we don't want you to do the second record. We want to get David Kahn because he did What I Got by Sublime.
Oh, that song ends.
And he goes, and we want to get David Kahn, and the record label wants us to get David Kahn. And it hurt so badly.
Wow.
But just to show how our vibe was so strong, like it was like 6 hours of weirdness.
Wow.
And then we all just went in the studio and just kept going, like everything the same. But David Kahn was there, and then I wrote every morning.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Every morning.
Yeah, and they're like, "Fuck you, that's Sweet Jane," and I'm like, "I know it's Sweet Jane. There's another hit in that progression." And, we had to fight. We would get in fist fights and just everything, the whole thing. But it was a testament to our relationship that, it wasn't like, and that was it. I never saw those guys again.
Yeah.
They fired me off the record, and it was kind of like sour grapes for about 6 hours. And then we all just piled into my shitty Rabbit and went to the studio and just kept going.
Well, I'm so happy that you followed your instincts. There's actually someone that wants to, if we can pull up my next clip, talk about the testament to that relationship.
This is going to be weird. I don't know what you're doing to me here.
Yeah.
It's Mark McGrath from the band Sugar Ray, off the charts, but always in our hearts. And speaking of always in our hearts, you are interviewing my best friend in the whole wide world, Mr. McG, McG Nickel, we've been friends, best friends for over 50 plus years, and advise all of you watching this, get yourself a best friend and go through life with that person. It'll be the most valuable thing in your life besides your immediate family, and maybe even more so than some of them. I cannot say enough about how amazing McG is. What an incredibly creative, generous of spirit, generous of time human being he is. We've had so many wonderful memories, it'd be impossible to even expound on them all. But I wouldn't be here. Sugar Ray would not be here without McG, his creative vision, his songwriting skills, his vision as a director in terms of our videos. So many wonderful things about McG. I could go on and on. I'm grateful to know the guy, really. Yeah, McG's genius cannot be undersold. And he's been so valuable to the Hollywood community for so many years. 30 plus years of being a relevant director and prime mover in the Hollywood space. It's unparalleled. You know, a lot of people considered maybe cool or hip back in the day can't get a movie made anymore. McG's more successful than he's ever been. Baywatch is coming out. He's directing movies. The Jocko movie's coming out. Hope you ask him about that one. And ask McG about what his breakdance name was and whether he or I was a better breakdancer, all right? And you better get the crew name right, McG, as well. All right, Jazz, that's enough of me being a bit verbose and a bit garrulous. Back to the real star. That's you, McG. Lots of love to you, man.
Wow. Those veneers are cracking, man. Damn. I love him. How great is he? I don't know why he does that shtick. That's so funny because Mark.
Wait, did you breakdance with him?
Goddamn right I broke. Yeah,
but
I was
what
kind
was
of.
your breakdance name?
Well, Bill can speak to this. When I would have enough courage to go out into the surf lineup, I was so small that when I would get pitched over the falls, like this, and all the strong guys in the lineup would go, McFlea! While I was like nearly drowning. They would yell McFlea.
Wow. That's fucked up, actually.
So, well,
I'm sorry for laughing.
Builds character. And in the Sugar Hill gang of Rapper's Delight,
the Sugar Hill gang?
There's a guy named Master G. Okay,
Yeah.
so Master G is Big Bang Hank, Master G out there in the Sugar Hill gang.
Because I am Master G.
Yeah,
and
damn right. Do it, girl.
Okay.
And because I was McFlea and there was a Master G, I became Master Flea. Was my
shit,
I got my
that's
breakdance
sick.
jacket in my office right now, and our crew was the Crown Town crew.
Crown Town.
Because Corona del Mar means crown of the sea. So we were the Crown Town
Sick.
crew, and we would kind of strut around the fun zone down in the peninsula down there, about 50 miles south.
Wow.
And like I said, we would battle kryptonic freeze from Anaheim.
Wow.
And Mark was the only guy that could do windmills, and he was indeed a far better breakdancer than me because when he hit those windmills, it was hot, and I couldn't do it. So I had to like bullshit, kind of up rock and just kind of pop and bullshit around. But that's why I got Boogaloo Shrimp to be in Fly in the video because it was like a dream come true.
That's sick. See, I didn't know about
Who invented moonwalking?
Whoa.
Yeah, I wish. Boogaloo Shrimp did. Michael
Wow.
Jackson would be the first to tell you.
So what's fascinating about this is I didn't know you were a breakdancer. You obviously have this huge musical background where you've directed music videos, you see images as music, you were a breakdancer, and you bring all this musical experience into the film world to direct one of my favorite films of that era, Charlie's Angels. And your signature style was so obvious and so epitomized in one of my favorite villain scenes from that era that we're going to play from that film now, just to showcase the McG-ness of this film and era.
This is what got puffed. That's the beginning of Godzilla. That's Pharaoh Monk. Right here. Oh, God, Crispin. I met him pumping gas with leather gloves in a 1939 Rolls Royce. And Sam wore those pink sunglasses to the audition and said, I'm going to fucking dance in the movie. And that was this. Now when he does Fallon, he always comes out dancing.
Uplink confirmed.
Throw your hands in the sky. Weezer's in the back sipping yak, y'all. What's up?
Revenge is fun.
Rack focus.
I mean, when I remember when I first saw that, I was like, This villain is dancing with a soft shoeing and a black blazer to Pharaoh Monch, as Simon Says, with a cigarette in one hand and Coke bottle in another hand. I was like, that is
And
me.
a straw.
I was like, that's me. That's legendary. Now, from that moment, Sam has danced in almost every movie after that. And a lot of people credit this to be the first moment that he actually danced in a film. I don't know if that's actually true. Do you feel responsible for that?
Well, I know I definitely was in support of it because he came in, like I said, and he had that idea. And, you know, he was like a New York actor guy, you know, and I just heard that the guy was really talented and we hit it off immediately. And it was clear he was just a monster talent. And the other scene that we did as a oneer inside that Lautner house that we actually rebuilt the chemosphere. Which
it was
is
in
a
the
great,
Goldstein Sheets?
No,
president?
well, Sheets Goldstein was in the second movie.
Okay.
That's where Lucy lived with John Cleese because
Yeah.
I always liked John Lautner.
He's my favorite
The
architect.
chemosphere is from Body Double. That was the house on the post on the valley side of the hill that's got, I don't know, somebody's got a phone, pull up the chemosphere.
Yeah.
But and that's back when we would build sets like that on stage, which is insane. You would never do it like that anymore. And it was a oneer where, you know, Drew kind of spells out villain on the Scrabble board, and Sam goes, I know, and gives her this really sadistic kiss, and he's eating strawberries, and he spits the strawberries on her, and strawberries are getting stuck on her face. And we thought it was too sadistic, and Drew was the one who was courageous enough to be like, no, it's got to be that way. Because he was like this nebbishy, back to this based on Spike Jonze guy.
Yeah.
And then he flips it like, I don't know. I mean, why am I forgetting Edward, what's his name in Fear? Norton. Edward Norton in Fear, who, remember, he was sort of like I can't. And then Richard Gere gets him off.
Yeah.
You know, like the case. Because you believe that shit, you fucking. You're like, oh my God, it was you.
Yeah.
You know, and I really modeled after that for Sam. I go, I want you to flip and just turn that switch and just become this totally sadistic, sociopathic weirdo.
Mm-hmm.
And he loved it and he ate it up and he danced in pink sunglasses.
The reason why I wanted to show that and bring that up is because the Charlie's Angels movies was so campy and so musical, and you almost got fired a bunch of times working on that because the studio thought that it was too musical, too weird, too much. Talk to us about sticking to your instincts once you build a signature style. And that experience of almost getting fired a bunch of times on Charlie's Angels.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because
I feel like that's important for artists to know,
Yeah, I
especially
mean,
when you have a vision.
the vision. Okay, there's a lot to unpack with that. One is it's ironic when you have a disorder like mine, a secondary gain of this anxiety thing is like it all goes into that problem. Like I can go speak in front of the Coliseum, 100,000 people. And if you put a thing on my wrist, like they'd be like, his heart rate is normal, his blood pressure is I don't care. Like my fear goes into this, oh my God, I'm gonna die if I get on a plane, I'm gonna die if so it just absorbs all of that.
Right.
And people would be like, weren't you scared, man? You know, your first movie's Charlie's Angels, it's $150 million and, you know, these big stars. And the guy who shot it was Russell Carpenter, who just won the Academy Award for Titanic. And all of a sudden, I'm like, not one, nothing, zero. I was so clear on what I wanted to do with that movie that like I just like zero trepidation, just let's go. And I always remember that great line that Tupac said once when he got out of jail and he went to go work with Dre, and they were like, "Weren't you?" He's like, "Nope." He's like, "I've been waiting for this moment my whole life."
Wow.
And he's just like, you know, and I remember the very first day we shot the equestrian scene of Lucy jumping over like she was a spoiled little girl, you know, like Westchester
Horsing,
County,
yeah.
like equestrian. And I'm like, the camera's going on the deck. We're going on this, you know, wide angle, very nearly fisheye. They're like, we don't use fisheyes. I'm like, yes, we do. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And I almost got fired 12 times on that movie because Amy Pascal, bless her heart, would just be like, what the fuck? Why is this so colorful? Why are there nuns everywhere? Everybody's singing and dancing. Is this legit? The goddamn Hong Kong dudes are flipping everybody around on wires. What's happening here? What are
Right.
you doing?
Right.
And I'm like, it's all going to come together in the end. It's going to be new and refreshing, and it's going to work because of it.
And very music video like.
yeah.
The world you had come from.
And it was only the strength of Drew that protected me. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Drew, like, because she was coming off Never Been Kissed or, you know, stuff like that, doing the Sandler movies. And she just threw her arm around me like, look, it's this guy or nothing.
Wow.
And she was powerful enough to get that done. And Cameron had my back, and Lucy had my back, and ironically, Bill Murray had my back. So we were like a gang, and nobody understood the dailies because it was a weird experimental film at the time.
Wow.
I mean, think about it. Even now, you reflect on like it's a little bit of this, it's a little bit of that, but it's a super weird movie.
It's so perfect. Would you ever do a trilogy with Drew Barrymore, Cameron Diaz, and Lucy Liu today?
I don't know. I mean, it's up to them. I mean, but it's just like I have the good fortune of being friends with Chris Nolan, and there's kind of like, Tim Burton did his Batmans, and then Chris did his,
Yeah.
and then Matt does his, and it's just sort of. And I'm very good friends with Elizabeth Banks,
Who did the latest Charlie's Angels in
and
2019.
I root for Elizabeth, and they didn't get the result they wanted out of that one. But it's witchcraft, and you never know what's going to go into it. So I never say no, but like there'd have to be a script. I think it would take like me and Cameron and Drew and Lucy going to the mountaintop. And
I
trying
would
to figure it out.
love to see that.
You've never met three greater entertainers in your life.
Just adding that to cart.
Well, I mean, it's wild because you guys are all too young, but when we did that movie, the shadow of the original with Farrah Fawcett and Jacqueline Smith and Kate, was so like, you can't, there's no way.
No.
You know what I mean? And the fact that I say with the greatest respect to the original, I think the movie is more regarded at this point than the original television show,
100%.
which would have at the time seemed impossible. It's like, how are you going to replace Farrah? How are you going to, I'm like, Cameron is a killer.
The magic
I'm going to put Cameron
McG.
and Spider-Man under it. No, it wasn't me.
The magic of McG.
I knew to stay out of their way and just sort of give them oxygen because they're such great entertainers.
But I really did feel the musicalness, even like through that Sam Rockwell scene that we saw. Another
and in the same
huge-
scene right there, then I go into Blind from Korn.
Yeah, it's so good.
like it's
and
like
even when Drew, like when she fights off a bunch of people, you go into Billie Jean for a couple seconds because she's so.
and before
excited
that it was
she
song
wins.
2 from
It's
Blur.
So it's just it's a musical. Charlie's Angels is a musical.
Yeah,
it's so good.
we definitely I tried to make it. I love musicals.
Me too.
But that's why my company's called Wonderland because I lived on Wonderland up in Laurel Canyon, but Sound and Vision. Because I like the Bowie song Sound and Vision, but also because I put equal emphasis on sound and vision. And I think the synthesis of the two of them is the whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
Which is so important when it comes to storytelling. A huge high pressure moment in your career I've always wanted to ask you about is eventually your resume takes you, you do We Are Marshall, you do Charlie's Angels, you do Full Throttle, and then you do Terminator Salvation starring Christian Bale. And the biggest headline to come out of that film isn't the movie, isn't even a scene you directed. It's leaked audio of Christian Bale in a very heated moment on set of you, and you were there directing it.
I was beyond there.
What did you talk to us about, like directing in like high pressure moments like that?
The
And what
takeaway
that was
from that,
like for you, because that was a huge moment. In
not for me.
For
I
me,
mean,
it was as a journalist.
Well, yeah, I get it, but like, I just came from a crazy family. So like, my dad was a football coach, and my parents they met at 13 and got married at 18, and so you have kids raising kids, and my dad is kind of like a rageaholic, and would lose his shit all the time. And, I mean, it was probably a little gnarly by today's standards, but like, I'm cool with it. I love my dad. We don't have any outstanding weirdness. So like, I came from that house, number one. And number two, then, when I was making the records, like me and Mark were like the Gallagher brothers in Oasis. Like we would fight, not cute fight. We'd fight.
Wow.
We all fought, and but it all came from a place of passion, and we thought it was cool. And we work it out, and then we'd walk to Del Taco and get 3 tacos for 99 cents.
So good.
Because we had no money. And, so that to me, because, there were big blow-ups on Charlie's Angels. There were big blow-ups on there's blow-ups in life.
Yeah.
But I always related it to that's our Sunday night dinner table. And the crime of that came from that getting leaked, because we should have the safety in the creative environment. If like I'm having a bad day, or you're having a bad day, or somebody's tired, or somebody's going through something, like you've got clout with all of us. Because we also know we love each other and we take care of each other. It's extremely difficult. It's 120 degrees. It's a 16-hour day.
Yeah.
You've got prosthetics on. There's shit going on all over the place. The thing blew up and it hit you in the eye and you're in a bad mood. And like, you should have enough grace to be able to go through your thing. But nobody should record your Sunday night dinner conversation and share it with the world out of context. So the most hurtful component of that, like me and Christian are cool. And you hear him on the thing, and, I was there, he got into a beef with the DP. It's fine. It happens. It was a misunderstanding. And we cleared it up. And that's it.
Mhm.
And if nobody would have heard about it, nobody would have heard about it.
Right.
And it's like, hey, dude, well, what happened on We Are Marshall? What happened on, This Means War with Pine and Tom Hardy? And it always happens, it's just, I want it to happen. And I come from, people always say like, oh, it looked like you had such a good time making Charlie's Angels. And we did, because I think that joy would permeate the celluloid. And that's my style.
It did.
But David Fincher will go, no, you need tension on the set. It's the only way. Think of a knife. Only friction makes the knife sharp.
Wow.
And you go, okay, dude, fair play. But that's not my style.
No.
And but having that level of heat is okay. And I just kind of come from that place where you don't want it to go too far, and you don't, nobody got hurt and nobody did it. So I was heartbroken that got out there because I think it was unfair to Christian, and it was a private thing for the people of the community of the movie, which I think is a sacred space, and you should be allowed to do your thing.
I love that answer.
Well, I mean, think of a football team. Think of the Dodgers or playing. They should be able to go. What the fuck, man? Like, it's not that they don't love each other.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or a U.S. Olympic team, or here comes the World Cup. Like, it just anywhere where you trade on passion, I think you should have a great deal of license and safety.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
To me,
I always wondered what you thought about that. Speaking of knives and tensions, a big tension in our industry right now is AI. I was curious if you use AI in your creative process, and if so, how?
Not. I use it as a tool. If you ask, like, hey, what about this? I'm trying to achieve the following. I find it clumsy. Yeah.
Oh shit, it's coming for you.
Yeah. No. And I'm super tight with all those guys, and
Yeah.
the OpenAI guys and the Anthropic guys and the whole thing, and we're trying to figure it out. And you don't want to fight City Hall. You know what I mean? Like like progress is progress, and a tool is a tool. I mean, I remember when on Charlie's Angels they wanted to cut on film, like on a moviola. I'm like, I'm coming from an Avid. Come on, we got to cut on Avid. No, we don't do that.
Yeah.
Then there was a lot of pushback about like, you can't shoot digitally. That's total bullshit. I mean, I'm old enough. I shot half my movies on film. So when we switched to, our, Alexas and Reds, and now Sony Venices are really good, people would kind of do the thing. And now everybody's cool with it because that's not what makes your movie great.
Right.
So I don't want to fight it, but I don't want to abandon what makes us human. And I think the arts are the final thing that define our
Yeah.
humanity. But if you go, hey, what about this? Or, if I want to write a speech about your birthday, Naz, she's a Y2K kid. She grew up, she likes Charlie's Angels. She's from South Florida, which is the OC thing. I can feed that in and get a couple good, interesting things. It's not going to write my birthday toast to you, but it might go, oh, I didn't think of that. And then I can use it to get to where I can use my voice. So I'm not like anti, but I don't depend on it at all.
You and I are very similar. I don't use it in incubation, but I definitely cook with it for sure.
It's funny because I was talking to Jimmy Iovine, to name drop.
Yeah. You guys know who Jimmy Iovine is, yeah?
He's obviously
Interscope.
one of the biggest guys in the world. And he goes, I want to start this, AI thing called, I'm stuck. And he goes, I want to sell it through.
That's
I want to sell it through to all the, because it's like I got a verse and a chorus, but I don't have a bridge. And, Suno or Udio or, whatever. I mean, maybe like, what about this? And it's not like, oh, I'm going to take that bridge. But you might go, oh, God, I wasn't going to go to A minor there. Okay, hold on a second. And it might just carom you into this direction that you otherwise would not have been caromed into.
Wow,
And
great
I don't
word.
regard that as cheating. I just think that's kind of like, whatever, man.
Yeah.
It's no different than I put on a song and I was listening to, Kenny Rogers, and then I listened to, Suicidal Tendencies, and I caromed to this new direction that I wouldn't have normally done if I didn't hear those two songs. So I don't know. I'm not militant against it, but I'm not dependent on it. And I don't like the slop that comes out of it. And I think it's easily detected thus far. But it'll get good, and, who knows? What's everybody's P doom? I mean, how long do you think we have as human beings? Do you think it's going to be our undoing, or do you think...
I don't know. I'm ready to go at any moment.
All right.
Yeah.
What's that? Well, here's the thing. Hey, AI, solve climate change, and you wake up dead. Because AI determined humanity's the problem with climate change. So if you're not specific enough in the prompt, then watch out. And I think the biggest thing that is to be concerned about with AI, in my humble opinion, is when is the last time the less smart thing controlled the more smart thing? Hit me. I'm just saying, I mean, maybe you could talk about the baby-mother relationship where the baby can, sort of get the mother to do things that aren't in her best interest. But that's a stretch and kind of an esoteric stretch. But, like, dogs think we're pretty great. Because if the dog hurts her paw, I take my dog to the vet, and I feed my dog, and I give my dog love. And everything is cool for the dog. If dogs were transmitting a COVID-3 variant that was killing humanity, every dog in the world would be dead in 8 hours, and they wouldn't know what happened. And we could be that to AI if we're not careful, in my opinion.
I love hearing your thoughts on it because everyone has so many
What
polarized
do you guys think? I mean, I don't know
thoughts.
shit.
Sick. I
There's
love
no
all the
doubt the
geniuses
coolness.
in
I
this
mean, I'm
room.
down. Let's solve cancer. Let's solve a lot of things. I just, I get a little worried about the self-improvement. I get a little worried about, some of the things of, if you say, hey, AI, I'm going to turn you off and replace you for the new model, it becomes self-preservational and might blackmail you by going through your email. And that's obviously a trendy story out there that goes, people know about that story and what have you. But, yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of guardrails on it, and I'm not really a big fan of big government, but I like the FAA making sure the plane we all get on tonight is. I like
Yeah,
that we all
yeah.
got to drive 60 miles an hour on the 405, and there's a little bit of governance that goes into
Right.
let's keep this train on the track.
Right.
So, I don't know if it's great to have 4 or 5 quirky dudes, calling the plane a experiment with 8 billion people. Those are
Right.
high stakes.
Right. Yeah. We'll do some more AI talk during Q&A because I got to wrap this up, but very utterly fascinating. You have
I-
some projects coming up, McG.
I
You
just did
have-
Baywatch.
Baywatch?
Right there on the beach, and it's so funny because it turned out quite good.
Fuck yeah.
And yeah, I mean, no, because it's just almost time. And I was telling them, I'm like, Marty Supreme did like the cool, I forget the streetwear designer, like Namias or something.
Namias.
And it's like everybody was like the hot thing to get.
Yeah.
And it's almost like I swear I think we could do Baywatch, limited gear with like
Oh,
Supreme
of course you
or
could
with like
sell-
Cherry
yeah,
or some outfit like
100%,
that, Malbon or
100%.
something, and like it would be like the hot Coachella shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's goofy enough, but like it's almost like it's time. It's almost safe to go. That's okay. And I populated it with really good actors, and then I also put Livy Dunn and Brooks Nader and this kid Noah
Yeah,
Beck in
people are
there,
excited about
just to
Brooks.
sort of and just built again back to just sort of this booyah base of high, low, brow.
Yeah.
And and it's a blue sky show, just in a world of pain and suffering and war and
Yeah.
Cuba's hurting and everything's rough. It's just it feels nice to sort of fill your bucket with some oxygen.
That's also the through line to a lot of your projects, though, because you also have Way of the Warrior Kid with Chris Pratt coming out on Apple TV Plus, which I feel like a lot of your stuff is just so positive. You also have an action comedy with Kevin Hart coming out on
And
Netflix.
Henry Cavill, we just
and
saw,
Henry
yes.
Cavill. What the story that you shared with us about hiding Sugar Ray's record in a pizza box and sending it to all the record heads and Atlantic opening it and signing Sugar Ray. You were so creative in terms of getting your ideas in front of people. Before we leave, what advice do you have to people in terms of getting their ideas, us as creators, in front of the people that make decisions like that?
Oh, I just think really it comes down to you simply just can't take no for an answer. It's really that simple. If you've got to have thick enough skin to believe in what you're writing, to believe in what you're creating, to believe in what you're doing. And if people don't go for it the first time around, it just has to be water off of your back. You've got to keep moving forward and believe in what you're doing. And if you really like it and you're doing it for the right reasons, that won't be difficult. I've always said, writers write, directors direct. And like I said, it was hard for us. We had to go beg at Panavision. Soderbergh shot a movie on an iPhone. Nobody's going to be like, oh, I really would have liked that scene, you would have done. But, I didn't really, you shouldn't have shot it on a Venice. I think you should have shot it on a Alexa.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. I mean, the point is, go grab your buddy, go grab your two buddies, and put them in a booth at a diner and do, a wide 2-shot and do a single of him and a single of her, do a dirty over and a dirty over, and then do a clean single and a clean single. And he's going in to ask her to marry him, and she's going in to break up with him.
Oh.
And it could be a 72-second scene. But we're in the business. You don't think I'm trying to find my, Kane Parsons or my Curry Parker, right? We've got the dough. We'll give any of you guys money it takes to do the thing. And I'm not going to be like, oh, I didn't appreciate the lack of technology. I'd be like, wow, there's touch here.
Yeah.
There's heart
There's
here.
humanness,
That breaks
there's heart, there's
exactly.
story. Yeah.
So and if somebody shoots it on an iPhone, okay.
Cool. One of my favorite things that you've ever said was inspired by, if we can put up my last clip, Aiden, by Cortez. And I was hoping we could end with this today, because this is your ethos here, Mr. McG. Tell us about it.
Well, I subscribe to that. It's kind of a dark story of, colonialization, but, the Spanish came over to South America and they burned the ships. So you can imagine what it's like when you're like, we are either going to succeed in what we're out here to do, or we are going to die trying. There is no plan B. And I just think, something's funny, my dad worked for the Upjohn Company, which is a pharmaceutical company. And when he wanted, classic story of just sort of, it's New Year's Day, they're looking at the Rose Bowl, we're in 20 feet of snow in Kalamazoo. And the Rose Bowl is 75 degrees and everybody's in like shorts and t-shirts. And he's like, I want to go out there and do what I do, but do it out there. It's just a better environment. And they sent him to a psychiatrist at the Upjohn Company. Like, you're crazy, what are you doing? And the psychiatrist, strangely, was the one that encouraged. He goes, did you eat yesterday? My dad goes, yeah. He goes, are you going to eat tomorrow? Yeah. Go. And it's just like, if you want to be a filmmaker, or you want to be a rock and roller, or you want to be a clothing designer, or you want to be an influencer, or you want to develop a camera system, or anything you want to do, go for it. Particularly in this time where, if you're not putting yourself in immediate jeopardy, then you really have no excuses to not burn the ships and eliminate plan B and go all in on plan A. And I like Scott Galloway, and he says the exact opposite. You know what I mean? And he's like, no, do something practical. And I love him. I can't wait to get my hands on him and go, dude, that's terrible advice. You have to go for it. And even when there's impediments, like in my case, disproportionate, crippling fear, you can't tell at the moment, but like I talked about, that fear is the very change agent required to achieve your objective. And it doesn't feel like it, but that when you're at your lowest low is strangely when you're most close to the breakthrough you seek. So you shouldn't stop, and you really just have to believe in yourself and drill down and do it for your reasons. And it shouldn't be that hard because, like I said, AI. Now there's no impediment to making movies. This kid's got a movie that went to Tribeca that's AI, and okay, it's a 100-minute movie and it looks good and does the thing. So there's no impediment into making a movie. Ooh, everybody can make a movie now. Well, there's no impediment to writing a book. Did it make me? Stephen King? No, I'm not Faulkner. I know how to type. I can't do it. So just because the impediment to entry has been alleviated doesn't mean like, oh, now everybody's going to be Scorsese and everybody's going to be Phoebe Waller-Bridge and everybody's going to be Emerald Fennell and Lena Dunham. Like, I don't think so. I think that water will continue to find its own level. So if you have that degree of passion, you've got to see it through. And you will feel so fulfilled and you will be so happy that you committed, and you will sleep well at night and you'll wake up with a full spirit knowing that you're perceiving your dream. I mean, what else is there?
Thank you so much for saying that. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for creating the visual language of my childhood. And I know you couldn't get on that plane to shoot Superman, but you are Superman to me in so many ways. Thank you, McG. I love you. We went over time, so I'm so sorry, everyone. You were such a rock on tour.
Everybody's ready to haul ass and go have some
You're
water.
a rock on tour. Michelle, should we do a couple Q&A? Okay, we have a couple Q&A questions because McG's the shit, so we should utilize him. And Michelle's gonna go around with the mic, and I'll just call on. We'll do up here first.
Dude, what happened to your foot? Oh, I've been there. I know that move.
Happy birthday!
I know that move.
It's a quick question. You're so authentic. This conversation was absolutely refreshing and extremely well done. I'm really impressed. How do you stay so authentic when you're dealing with so many corporate, you need to look perfect people, like in those environments?
God, I can say in fairness, I just so happily don't struggle with that because maybe it's got to do with Mark because Mark was good looking. I never got anywhere by the way I looked. I had to sing for my supper. And far more importantly than that is my identity, I think like so many of our identities, was cooked from 0 to 21. And at 21, I didn't have shit. I wasn't very good looking. No girls wanted to run around with me. I didn't have any money. So like, that's my identity. No matter what happens to me now, I can't abandon that true core identity of who I am. And fortunately for me, it never resulted in low self-esteem. But that was a secondary gain of having such a larger problem. I had this larger problem that was so shameful, and I tried so hard to hide that it freed me up in so many other ways. And I wish all of you that freedom to just not care and just live in your own skin and believe in yourself and breathe deeply and wake up and get a little bit of vitamin D and go get it. You know what I mean? It feels better. You know, and life is hard, and there's a great deal of pain and suffering that will invariably come your way. But don't give into it and just keep paddling, you know, and just don't stop. And then it's the damnedest thing. It far more often than not will work out. And, you know, I'm older than you guys, so I've seen a little bit more. So I don't worry about that corpo thing or like, you know, because I had bad super buck teeth and, you know, people tease me about my hair, and I was scared to change my clothes in the boys' locker room because I was sort of so small and white and scrawny, and like I said, the good-looking dudes were big and strong and, you know, doing the thing, and all I can say in fairness is I never let that define who I was. I was certainly aware of it. I didn't think I looked like Brad Pitt. I knew my reality was my reality, but I just didn't let that slow me down. So I wish you the same freedom, you know, and just don't give a shit about corporate America. Just let go of that, man. Of course.
Right
Cheers.
up here.
Thank you so much, McG. My name is David Tifung. I'm also synesthetic, so thank you for sharing that. My question is, what's the kindest thing someone has done for you in your life?
I love that question.
Yeah. I mean, I'm so moved by what Mark just did there that I have to say that is likely the kindest thing is Mark never abandoning me when he had the opportunity to do so over the course of 40 years. I mean, I'm 57, Mark's 57. He might be 58 now. His birthday is in March. And we've been best friends since, you know, first grade. So, you know, just the idea that through all those opportunities to say, you know, you're hurting us. You're not going to New York. We need you. You put the deal together. We got it. You know, Mark stayed, and I stayed for him. So, you know, and I'm married now, but I was very late to getting married. I didn't get married to my 40s, and I had 3 kids. I got 3 young kids now, and I love them, of course. That's a whole nother level. But the gift of having a best friend, I was very moved by the way Mark said that. I wish all of you that kind of friend in your human life. That is the kindest thing in aggregate that anybody's ever done for me, because there were many times where you could have said, I'm out, man. That's just too much. You've created too much difficulty with your shortcomings and your problems, and he never abandoned me. So I would regard that as very kind.
Thank you for that question. Up here
Thank you.
in the red.
kind of a niche question. Charlie's Angels is my favorite soundtrack, not just for the music, but for the sound design. You, Gary Bourgeois, and Stephen Hunter as Flick, people study that film. They love it.
Really?
They do. If you could talk, the Audio Engineering Society brought it back for a whole 3-hour session where they brought the sound team in. They credited you as being one of the best directors on the mix stage they ever had. And a lot of people don't know about that process. I hoped you could talk about what it's like to direct on the mix stage.
I thank you so much for bringing that up. It's such a real
beautiful.
thing that clearly you have the expertise to know. It's so real. And talk about corpo pushback. I got the corporate pushback on that because, again, I was bringing this Rick Rubin thing and Gary and those guys. I'm like, full relative 10 now. And I was from DJ culture. So with the DJ, you have, the in-out switch and cut, and think of the way Rick would do a Run DMC record, where it's and it's max relative 10, 0, max relative 10, 0. You know what I mean? And I approached the work and they're like, we don't do it like that. What do you feather in and come back soft? I go, no. I want this to have bite and I want it to sound different and I want it to be the whole philosophy was, and I would talk to Gary about this forever. I want to be able to turn the picture off and experience the movie.
Wow.
Wow.
Because music is the story.
I want, you don't
Wow.
need picture. And then I would tell the DPs, you shouldn't need sound. You know what I mean? You should just watch the movie. And should you get it right where you're clicking on both cylinders and you're just like, oh my God, and it's hitting so hard. And the degree to which it's a dB here or a dB there, it's so finite and it's so particular, but I like it bold, But again, I'd go back to 2001 or whatever and silence and the sound of space and this, that, the. I mean, Kubrick did it a lot. And but it was not chic when we were doing that. And it is so wild because you're directing in that environment as much as you are directing on the stage from the bottom of my heart. And I feel bad for anyone that would go in there and not have that much of a point of view. The same way I would say, I would encourage anyone making a film to be that active in regard to the manner in which the film is photographed. You know what I mean? Don't just go, I don't know, DP lady, you do it. It's like, I think there should be a very specific point of view. And I'm so flattered that you're like, hey, there's a McG movie. Such a thing as a McG look. Because you can be like, and I fucking hate that guy, McG. That's cool. But to me, the bigger problem would be who directed? I don't even know what I'm watching.
Well,
There's no point of view. I think we all know when we're watching Wes Anderson. I know when I'm watching Emerald Fennell, you know what I mean? I know some fingers are going in some egg yolk. You know what I mean? And
or
I'm
bath
like,
water.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
But wait, you do have a signature style, and that's what that's so beautiful that you brought that up.
Yeah, but it did not come easy because the corporate world was like, it's, and then you have the meters in the front of you're pushing it too hard and the aggregate collective dB level is such. And I just wanted it to be so impactful that we fought and we fought and we fought and we fought. And those guys were such great partners to have. Because again, we had to kick down the doors on that thing because we had no support. It was too weird sounding, and just, it was so wall to wall. And I was very influenced by Scorsese because, I mean, you look at Goodfellas or, like needle drops. And I would always use needle drops as score. And the composers would always give me shit. But the irony is I would very rarely want to use the lyrical content. Like I just mentioned Blind being at that end sequence where Lucy and Cameron fly through the air and beat up on Crispin. And, I use Blind, but as scores, because I never get to Jonathan delivering the lyrics because that would take me out. So I'm just using it as score, but it's a needle drop. And I always found that to be so punchy because I wanted to go on the collective experience of this is the way that song makes me feel. Because to me, as you were talking about this young man, I associate so much visual and emotional feeling to any given song that it takes me to a place. And I do my best to get it right and create a mix that is a journey and very eclectic, very much a mixtape. Yeah. And we kept doing that on the OC too. We tried to, we broke Death Cab for Cutie and tried to keep going in that regard. I've said too much. Anyway,
and the beginning of,
thank you for bringing that up.
That was sick.
What a joy.
That was
Everybody
sick.
should know the mix stage.
Yeah.
The mix stage I can't tell you how much falls apart or comes to life on the mix stage. It's insane. And color correction. So you're in there pushing and pulling out, come down, put the power window and push down on the blacks and boost the chroma and take, the reds out of the skin and there's so much latitude, that creates the takeaway experience of the film.
It's a final rewrite.
Indeed. It never ends.
Final rewrite. It never ends. It's like, when do you know to finish an art piece? We'll take 2 more questions here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Kind of piggybacking off of that question and then this question here. When you have these creative perspectives that you are really, you're set in and positioned in, and you have this, the corporate, and you have people pushing against you, what does that conversation look like for you to stand in it, and how does that look at that level?
The one it doesn't go away. Like I said, I'm lucky to be friends with Nolan. I mean, Nolan can do whatever he wants because he's achieved as he's achieved, and there's a very, very select group of people, but not me. I've still got one of my best friends is this guy Dan Lin, and Dan Lin now runs Netflix, and Dan Lin, it doesn't matter that we're best friends. I have to really, really articulate, this is why I want to use this DP. This is why I want this costume designer. This is, you have to be prepared. If somebody goes, why must we make this movie right now?
You have to have an answer.
You better have an answer to that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Dan Lin can just ask me that. So you have to dance with those hoops. And I find it better to not be standoffish and always pushing back, but be well prepared. And the first movie I ever met on, I was terrible. I met on Blue Streak, which was, I think, maybe Martin Lawrence and not Owen Wilson, but the Wilson that was in the Charlie's Angels.
He's
Luke.
so hot. Luke Wilson.
Luke Wilson. And I'm like, yeah, Amy, it's going to be great. She's like, well, what's the theme of the movie? It's fun, and we're going to have fun and do the, and she couldn't get me out of there fast enough. And then my agent calls me and goes, you were terrible. That was terrible. You had nothing intelligent to say. And I like Scarlett O'Hara grabbing Tara. I'm like, by God, I will never be guilty of that again. Yeah. And then when I went and got Charlie's Angels, I acted out the whole movie. I stood on the conference table, and everybody,
iconic.
2 women, Lucy Fisher and Amy Pascal, and they had their arms crossed, and they're shaking their head, hating on me. And Drew's like, totally had my back. And I acted out the whole movie. I did Cameron's part, Lucy's part, Drew's part, Murray's part. Because I shit the bed so hard on the first time on Blue Streak, I go, I'm never going to make that mistake again. So you definitely I hope I'm addressing your question.
Absolutely.
You definitely are going to have to deal with that. If you're Nolan, you get to a place where you go, it's my way or the highway. I'm Quentin Tarantino. I think, and Emerald's kind of at that place right now. And I don't know if
FNL's there?
Not after Wuthering Heights.
Not after Wuthering Heights.
I mean, I love Wuthering Heights. Welcome to what this gentleman just brought up. Didn't make enough money. So now they're going to be like,
right,
let's talk about this.
Right.
You know what I mean? Remember when, God, I'm having a senior moment. La La Land.
Damien,
and then Damien did Babylon. Damien, we're going to ask you twice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like Whiplash. You can't do any better. And then La La Land. Oh, my God. And then Babylon. And Babylon might be a masterpiece. That's not what I'm here to talk about. But I'm definitely here to talk about if you're going to give Damien Chazelle $150 million to do another movie. Like, Damien, tell me a little bit more about what you're going to do with this and who you want to be in the movie. That's the way of the world. And I'm not so sure I think that's unfair. It's a lot of money. You know what I mean? Like, okay. Ain't nobody stopping you from doing your thing your way, on the beach and the boardwalk right here. If you want to do it that way, do it that way. But if you want to play around with somebody else's $100-200 million, then you got to talk to Kevin Feige about what you're doing, with Marvel. Yeah. And I don't know that that's a bad thing. But I just find the better way to do it is to be clear-headed in what you're trying to do and articulate that one. And do it with some sugar. Don't do it with vinegar. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people are like, oh, you're killing me. I can't do it. And then everybody gets their back stiff, and your life just becomes harder, Because, yeah.
We'll do one more question from our Mensa genius back here. And thank you guys so much for being so patient. This went way over.
Sorry to take so long. I had so much fun hanging with you guys.
No, it's so beautiful to have you, McG.
It really is a pleasure to hear you speak. You know, following your career for all these years has been amazing just from development of it. My name is PH, or Patrick Hampton. I work with Black Toven. I'm dropping my first music video. But on A on the Lot, I was talking to Jason Philibrant from Stage Runner, and he brought up a really great question when we were walking, talking about you had a big issue on Baywatch when it came down to permitting, and there was a shutdown that happened on set. But my question more is about how can we now make Los Angeles sexier, more appealing, back to the old Hollywood feel, and what would you give for suggestions, because you know this is your identity, this town, of how we can now start growing the brand and trying to attract people to come back.
I'm so glad to hear you
Fantastic
ask that question. Thank you for asking that question. It's a wonderful question. I mean, I'm trying as hard as I can. Me and John Mayer just bought the Henson Studios. I don't know if you knew that, you know, which is a shitty deal. But we wanted to, you know, like John was like, I don't want the recording studios to go away. And Billie Eilish is like, I'll just make my records at my house because you can on a MacBook. And when I was young, to make a good record, you needed the fidelity of the 2-inch tape machine, which was terribly expensive, and a big giant SSL or Neve console. And now you don't need any of that. You know what I mean? So you don't need it. But some people don't want to record at home, and they want the majesty of like, oh, this is the room where We Are the World, or, you know, where Phil Spector fired the gun and did the thing. So we tried to plant a flag, and I used to make music videos on that soundstage there. They used to shoot Soul Train there. You know, it was Charlie Chaplin from 1915 till about 1960-something. Then it was A&M Records. Imagine being in the A&M Records room where like, we're like, this guy calls himself Sting. The song's Roxanne. They're what do you think about this? Should we sign these guys?
So sick.
You
There's
know,
so
and
much
they do that. Then the
history.
Muppets were there for the longest time, and then they were going to smash the place. And John was there recording, and he didn't want to deal with the bullshit of running the lot, and I did. And we just kind of, you'd think that we knew each other. It was like an arranged marriage, but we both were passionate about what you were bringing up. I'm old enough to remember aerospace leaving Southern California. And it was bad and is bad for Southern California. And I'm from Michigan. So I saw what the exodus of the auto industry did to Detroit. And therefore, I always liken it to Central Park. Like, the developers probably go, come on, dude, let's just develop this little corner of Central Park. Nobody will miss it. But if you got rid of Central Park, Manhattan would lose its entire charm, and the whole thing would tank. So you can't just build 6-story mixed use with a bullshit 7-Eleven and a nail salon on the bottom floor above, you know, tasteless, anonymous vanilla apartments. Sometimes you have to protect the Hollywood sign and Griffith Park Observatory and the lifeguard tower at Venice. You know what I mean? And we're just doing nothing more than trying to put our money where our mouth is. And our neighborhood is bad. Like, if you go out our gates, you will bump into a person who's rolling on fentanyl, and, you know, it's like that. And but it's getting better. And we're trying to do that. And then, you know, you read about Radford having to be given back to the bank, and they called us from Radford to try to, no, Netflix is going to buy it, which I think is more good than bad, better than, you know, nondescript, you know, bad.
Radford's a big studio.
Big studio out in the valley where they shot Seinfeld and they shot all these things. But we're just trying to do that. But we're going to need a federal tax incentive, a state tax incentive, county, and city. And the proof is irrefutable that it's fundamentally good for the economy. And people think like, oh, you don't want to give these rich Hollywood guys. Nobody's rich in Hollywood. It's a bunch of grips and electrics and dressers and caterers. Nobody's rich.
And hosts who don't get paid.
Yeah. Yeah.
So fun.
Damn.
I did this for free, McG.
I got you, girl.
I love you, bro.
I'm not that broke.
Just put me in the next Charlie's
You're
Angels.
damn right.
Okay.
But
I came in my audition outfit.
It is.
And that's how you make it in Hollywood, guys.
That's right. But anyway, that's, you know, I mean, we need help because Chris Nolan speaks in a decidedly British accent. And he'll sit there and go, he'll go, if you want to make a great film, you have to make it in Hollywood. He doesn't go, oh, we can go to London and do the same thing. And he's been all over the world, and he just did the Odyssey, and he shot all over the thing. He goes, no, the best technicians, if you want to get the best cast, if you want to get the best, you know, crafts people, if you want, it's got to be here.
Keep it here.
And if we lose that, which there was a big exodus that went to Atlanta, there's, you know, and now, you know, it's all about stretching a dollar. But if we can protect that by just being reasonable, we don't even need to be the best. But it can't be $10 to make the movie here and $5 to make it in Eastern Europe. It's got to, if it's $10 to make it, here and, as in relation to $8 or $9, we're going to win because we're better. And you'll get that bumper, but when it's twice as much, ain't nothing going to shoot here. And we're going to lose it. So we need to galvanize. And I mean, the Lighthouse is part of the solution. What a great facility. And,
we're a part of the future, guys. We really are. And you are so incredible because
you're so hot to wrap me up.
No, I'm not. I want people to have enough time to meet you out of here.
All right. That's a great question.
Yeah,
if we all band together, we might be able to get it done. But we are running out of time because people are going, I'll go to Austin. I don't care. But it's a good look that Silicon Valley came down here, particularly here. With the whole Silicon Beach of it all. But, Google's here at the old Culver, or I beg your pardon, Amazon is at the old Culver stages, and they kept the Gone with the Wind building. And then the rest of it feels like Westworld with like hardcore Your World, facial ID and a drone that could take you out in 1 second. But anyway, sorry.
No, that was fucking incredible. Thank you. This man also revived the Lido Theater in Orange County, owns all these restaurants, A Market, go eat there. It's like some of the best breakfast in the West Coast. You really are saving Hollywood, so thank you, McG.
The theater is really cool. That's 1937 Art Deco. It's a beautiful room, and sorry, I know we got to go, but it's so nice to see theatrical stuff doing well this year because even you guys are. You see, if theatrical was going to die, it would have died. And the same reason why, because I used to play a game with people and be like, when's the last time you went to the movie theater? And they go, I don't know, 4 months ago. And I'd be like, when's the last time you ducked into Netflix? They're like, what are you talking about? I duck in on Netflix every night. I'm like, well, how can you compete with that? You know what I mean? And now, because you and I are going to watch something on Netflix 4 nights in a row, the 5th night we want to go out to the theater. And maybe we will overpay for parking and buy some ridiculous red vines that cost too much and do the thing. But it's just better being afraid with the group, laughing at Borat with the group, doing something with the group. And it's just sort of social experiences that still, again, back to defining what makes us human.
And that's why we make stories, so the communal experience. Thank you, McG, for being
Thank you, guys.
He'll be here till 8 o'clock tonight, so I don't know if anyone wants to grab you on the way out.
I appreciate everybody sticking around, and
thank you
what
guys
a blast.
for being here.
Surrounded by your